I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I see no empty spots around the horseshoe, so minutes. Minutes from February 26th, our last MPC meeting. How would you like to handle them? Adina, Councillor Scandra, please.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay.
Adopt the minutes.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor of Councillor's motion? That is carried. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I see we do have a guest in the gallery, so welcome. Let's do a quick round of introductions. Everybody's good? Okay. Good morning, Mike. Let's carry on. Post-agenda items, staff. Okay. A motion to approve the agenda then, please. Councillor Hofer. Hop.
I'll make that motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. Development permits. Shanna Lee, please.
Thank you. So there was 4 permitted uses. They're not really that exciting, but the first one, which is the Newell Colony, was a shop, and it is going to be used for mechanics and storage and a wash bay. The rest of them are just pretty standard.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Shanna Lee. We will accept that for information. Now we'll go on to the development permits. And we have one today.
Thank you. Development permit 2026011 is for the installation of a ready-to-move dwelling. There is an existing dwelling on the parcel that was constructed in approximately 1982 and is considered legal non-conforming. The proposed dwelling is a 2026 and it will be installed on pilings. The proposed dwelling will be installed approximately 300 meters north of the existing dwelling and will be for the parents of the family that's going to be living in the existing dwelling. The applicant is not requesting any variances to the land use bylaw. There was no response from adjacent landowners. There was no issues from administration or concerns, and we're recommending approval with conditions.
Great, thank you. First question I'll ask is, can you tell us what made it non-conforming to the present bylaw? Is it setbacks? Shanna Lee?
Sorry, thank you. Anything that was installed or constructed prior to 1990, which is when we had our first land use bylaw, would make it legal non-conforming.
Correct. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Kopp.
I'd like to make a motion to approve with conditions.
Thank you. Seeing no hands, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion? That is carried then. Other business, we have information on Telecom Tower. Did you want to speak to that, Shanna Lee? Thank you.
Thank you. Explore is proposing to install a 45-meter telecommunications tower to improve the internet in the area, and they have requested that the staff provide a letter of concurrence. Public consultation is required prior to the request of concurrence. All landowners within a radius of 3 times the height of the tower were mailed a notification package. They were all invited to a public meeting that was held on February 18th. No one attended the public meeting. The proposed tower location maintains all the required setbacks. If a letter of concurrence is achieved, the applicant will provide that letter to the Innovation, Science and Economic Development, and they must follow the regulations of the Radio Communications Act. And we're recommending that we would provide a letter of concurrence for the tower.
Oh, I'm chairing. A question, and this question is an old question. I've asked it before. Do telecommunications organizations communicate and share towers, or are we going to see a tower for each company? Channelie?
The companies are required to share towers if it will work for them. In this case, the size of it is not going to work for the towers that are in the same area that they require it, but they do have to share towers if it can be done.
Thank you for that. Councillor Kopp?
I was under the impression that they were already sharing the tower that was up further up on the hill to the south of there. Do they have to disclose any of that they're already using a different tower, or how does that work?
Channelie?
I don't know of that, so I'm guessing no.
Okay. For information, or where's my RFD? It's a report saying that it's going up, just letting us know that it's going up. And a motion. Yes, Councillor.
I did not take the time to look on a map where this was. Is this anywhere that would be a farming area that would have spring? Lynette, since I think you know where this is.
Let's use your mic.
Okay. It's right beside the road. So like even if they were spraying, there's a big hill there too. So like, I think they would be all right.
All right, thank you for that. Any further, there were no post-agenda items. Channelie?
Thank you. I believe that, can I get a motion to request that I write the letter of concurrence for that, please?
Okay, I was looking for that. Response options, yes.
I'll make that
you.
motion.
Thank you, Councillor Screever. Any further discussion? We have a motion. All in favor of the motion? That is carried. No, any reason for in camera? Okay. There are no information items. Any questions in the queue, Catherine? Hearing none, I'll adjourn this MPC meeting. Thank you, everyone.
everyone. Welcome to our council meeting. Sorry I missed a few minutes here, but I'm back. Good to see everyone. I would say to council, good thing we were traveling yesterday and not today. I think there's some weather out there today. And I think we're all here, so no one's excused from the meeting. We have the minutes from the February 26th, 2026 meeting. Is there any errors or omissions or a motion to approve? Councillor Johnson.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Are there any post-agenda items that anyone has? Seeing none, a motion to adopt the agenda as circulated would be in order. Councillor Chrisman, thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. And I note also that we do have some scheduled appointments at 10:45, 11, and 11:30 today, so we will take those as they come. Let's move right into 7.1, right? The loan for the Rolling Hills Ag Society Post Office project. Welcome, Stephanie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
At the conclusion of the February 26th council meeting, a motion was approved to initiate a loan bylaw approval process for the Rolling Hills Ag Society to proceed with the purchase of the privately owned structure which is currently houses the Rolling Hills Post Office. A loan bylaw has been prepared as presented for first reading. I am looking for council today to approve the first reading of bylaw 2116-26, the Rolling Hills Agricultural Society loan bylaw for the purchase of the Rolling Hills Post Office structure.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Baumgarten, please.
Just as an update, this has really stirred the community up. There's a very high motivation to keep this, and they've already hit 15,000 on fundraising between a pancake supper and just donations and stuff like that. So just a heads up, the loan will not be 30, it'll be 15 max, and there's some other things afoot. We've been looking in the couch in terms of our different societies and subcommittees, and there may be funds available to further supplement that. So it may be a pretty minor loan we're looking at here. And in any case, it'll get paid back really quick. So I just wanted to make council aware that the community is really behind this initiative and have gone a long ways already to get where we need to be. So, but definitely appreciate the county's willingness to backstop us in our effort to keep that post office. So thank you.
Well, that's great news, and thank you for your leadership on that too, and a quick movement on it. That's excellent. Councillor Neil Johnson, and then Councillor Chrisman, please.
Yeah, good work, Dan and Rolling Hills. I'll make that motion. That's excellent.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Councillor Chrisman, please go ahead.
I'm in favor of this motion as well. I just wanted to thank staff for the quick turnaround. Amazing, a lot of work, and now it'll go to public for their consumption, and then it'll come back to the next council meeting. Is that correct? That's great. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's good to hear. Hopefully we'll have a good outcome on this. Any other comments or questions? Or ready for the question? All in favor of the motion to approve as recommended? That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, we've got our senior assessor coming in at 11. 9.1 administrative business, the request for a letter of support for the Rolling Hills Post Office. Ariana, please. That's been circulated, I think, so, yeah.
Yes, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be present. There was a request from the Rolling Hills community to provide a letter of support. There's a change in the post officer and the post officer. And so when they're advertising for a new one, they're trying to reduce the hours from 30 to 20. So the letter is in support of maintaining the current level of service for the postmaster in Rolling Hills.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you. And we did have a template that we worked off of and basically highlights the the good work the community's already done to maintain the service, and really, hopefully, there'll be support from Canada Post. That's probably minimal commitment, really, compared to what the community is prepared to do. So we look for a letter. Now this, we did get support for this informally, so I'm confident we'll just get a letter or a motion to support the letter, or someone have that motion. Councillor Scandrop, please.
I'll make that motion that we send a letter of support.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. And again, thanks for your good work on that, Councillor Baumgarten. Let's move on. Item number 9.1, Rural Municipalities of Alberta Spring Convention. This time again, Ariana.
Yeah, again, no decision to be made here. It's just an update on the meetings. We decided the attendees for the meeting with the Minister of Technology and Innovation, as well as Environment and Protected Areas. Municipal Affairs was unable to accommodate us, but they are hosting an open house on March 17th, and they suggested that might be a informal place for you to raise issues. But other than that, this is just for information.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate your work on that. Requests for functions of council, 9.1. Are there any?
9.3 resolutions.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I went past 9.3. Thanks, Matt. RMA spring resolutions, 9.3. Let's, how do we want to deal with these? Do you want to discuss them individually? Okay, let's take them. Who's going to take us through them? Is that me? Yeah, they'll read them. But, and I assume that you had a chance to look at them. But let's go through them one at a time. The first one is the urgent reforms to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and Pest Management Regulatory Agency by the County of Minborn. I will not read the whereases, but the motion says, therefore be it resolved that the rural municipalities of Alberta urge the Government of Canada to implement urgent reforms to the mandates, processes, and accountability structures of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and Pest Management Regulatory Agency, including providing both agencies with the legal authority to meaningfully consider and respond to feedback from producers, industry stakeholders, and Canadians. Further be it resolved that the RMA requests that the Government of Canada relocate CFIA and PMRA from Health Canada back under Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada to restore alignment with agriculture needs, improve responsiveness to on-farm realities, and require the agencies to consider business impacts, animal welfare, scientific evidence, and practical implementation challenges in all regulatory decisions. That's a mouthful. What are your feelings about that? I think that, go ahead, Councillor Johnson, and then Councillor Baumgarten.
I just think that's a good move.
Yeah, I think so. Councillor Baumgarten.
I'm just happy to see the echoing of what we saw at the ASB as well. There's a lot of parallels and overlap between the resolution there and this one. So hopefully if they're getting leaned on from many different angles, we might see some action. I don't know, but it's good to see that there's consistency in approach and advocacy on this one.
Just sideline information, I was at the beef industry conference last Wednesday in Calgary and had a visit with a senior, albeit retired, but a senior cattle industry representative from the past who was familiar with some of the earlier iterations of CFIA and the leadership, and apparently there's new leadership at CFIA at the level of the president, and the feeling was he's a fellow that was very effective when he was there previous, but was there for a short period of time, so hopefully he'll be able to get the organization connected to the industry. So we'll probably support this, eh? Okay. Can we move on? Resolution 2 is changes to the provincial bridge and culvert classification. Therefore, be it resolved that the rural municipalities of Alberta advocate to the government of Alberta to change its definition of a bridge to match the national practice of defining a culvert spanning 3,000 millimeters or more as a bridge structure. Further, be it resolved that the RMA investigate cost-effective bridge replacement and maintenance options for municipalities. Councillor Johnson, please.
According to Bonnyville, this is going to save them a lot of money in engineering costs and structure costs. I'm just wondering if that is the same opinion as our Municipal Works Department.
Matt, please go ahead. Thank you for the.
Yeah, initial comments I received back from Mark. There's some concern if you reclassify what qualifies as a bridge, you might have the unintended consequence of the province removing STIP funding, the grant funding for it. So there is some risk of a potential unintended consequence here. The cost savings related to not spending as much on an over-engineered design. I mean, we've had these conversations with the EID from time to time. I'm not sure where it's gonna fall, but I think there's potential for some unintended consequences here. You know, the responsibility for then engineering each specific bridge file will rest on the municipality within the legislation to get that right.
Thank you for that. I'll follow up. Go ahead, Councillor Kopp.
I'm just trying to understand, am I in? Understand how this works. Like, the way I'm understanding it is that the culverts are already an engineered item. So if it only needs to be this big, you basically just put it in and don't really need all the engineering. Is that right, or am I not understanding that?
Go ahead.
So your culvert's going to be constructed to spec, but how it gets installed also matters. Yeah, and the engineers have something to say about how it gets installed.
Is your caution going to be registered there, or is that something we should kind of prep ourselves to just raise the issue? Go ahead, Matt.
I'll get some more detailed information out of Mark and Jeff. I just tasked them with that this morning, and we'll circulate that to council so you can make up your minds when you're around the table in Edmonton.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that's good. Councillor Neil Johnson.
Yeah, maybe it'd be worth talking to some of the Bonnyville crew and just to see what, they wouldn't have made the resolution if they didn't think it was worthwhile, so. Yeah, there's smokers there. I'll on it.
Okay. Councillor Scraver.
Yeah, and Alberta being the only, the last jurisdiction in Canada to not approve this, to have, you know, the other provinces have done this already, so.
Okay. Okay, we will reconsider this as we get to Edmonton. Councillor Holly Johnson.
And if you look at the amount, they're saying it decreases the cost. It might wipe out the need for the STIP funding too. So it's an interesting, you have to do some math on this one.
Okay. Good. We'll move on and revisit this, eh? Resolution number 3 is the inclusion of veterinarians and animal health technicians in the federal student loan forgiveness program. That's pretty straightforward. To advocate to the Government of Canada to amend the Canada Student Loan Forgiveness Program to include veterinarians and animal health technicians who commit to practicing in rural, remote, or underserved communities as eligible professions are for federal student loan forgiveness benefits. And then the further, I think what are your thoughts? Councillor Johnson?
Yeah, I hate to get down on vets again, but I'm all for the loan forgiveness program, but there's a list of professionals a mile long that might as well be forgiven if the vets are going to be forgiven.
Well, and quite a few of them are. I think the idea here is that they also be included in that program, basically. Councillor Chrisman?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that this, in rural's mind, is has been missed on the federal list. So all it's asking for is an addition to that list. So you got it? Okay, great.
Are we good with that? I think it's consistent with them. I mean, the fact of the matter is veterinarians and doctors are the two professions that we hear most about because both are dealing with live bodies most of the time. A lot of the other professions can work remotely, whereas often not so much the case with veterinarians and doctors. Let's move on to resolution number 426S, electoral boundary redistribution to protect effective representation in rural Alberta. What are your thoughts on that one? You want me to read it, or can we? Councillor Chrisman and then Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, I have read it, and it's been discussed at the RMA board level. This came from the north. What they're proposing is a province-wide division up there in the north. And you know how wide the province is. So this is as a result of that. But there are other municipalities that are being split, or there's dissatisfaction outside of Calgary where they're pulling a piece out of Calgary and putting it in with a rural, for example. Where I visited last week at the council meeting. So there's dissatisfaction about that as well. So I you know, my guess on this is it likely will pass, but certainly you make up your own mind, but that's what's happening, I've heard, around the province.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Maybe you could explain a bit more. I don't understand. I'm not clear on the term hybrid riding and what you meant about the north. Can you explain that better?
Okay, so the hybrid riding is where they're pulling a chunk of Calgary and putting Okotoks, the county of Foothills, in with the city. Similar to what we are here, a hybrid. And when we had our review here in Brooks, there was opposition to that there, but we find it, I mean, I think it's a great idea to have a hybrid in this situation. So it's totally on your perspective, whether you think it works or it doesn't. But, and then the North Country, it's just such an unpopulated area up there, and you know how much weight they put on population, that it ended up, they made a strip across the top of the province that is all one MP. And so that MP could use a plane to get from within his riding, right? So that's where this is coming from. Does that answer? Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll get an opportunity. Do we need a decision on this? Or can we just, we'll reconsider as we get to Edmonton? Okay, let's carry on then. Number 5 is funding to clean up contaminated and derelict properties with the County of Vermilion. Therefore, be it resolved that the rural municipalities of Alberta advocate to the Government of Alberta to review relevant legislation to enable a differentiation between current and former owners with respect to liability for contaminated properties, and also to reinstate an adequately funded grant program to facilitate the remediation of contaminated properties. Councillor Johnson.
On this one, there's a lot of industrial buildings just north of town here and on the other side of town too that have that contamination in the ground. This could open up a real, I'm not sure that, I don't know really how to word this. I think they're opening up a huge can of worms that might cost somebody one heck of a pile of money.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Chrisman, and then Councillor Screever.
I can provide some clarification on this as well. It's a protection for the municipalities mostly, or a lot of the time, because what happens to some of these properties is they come back to us for unpaid taxes. And so then there we sit with the land and the cost to remediate that soil before it can be sold or used. What we did in Bassano on one of those sites is we put the town office and we just put pilings in the ground. As long as you don't dig the soil up, you can use the property, but as soon as you go underground, that soil has to be remediated at a high cost. So I agree that, you know, it may open things up, but it's also a very big protection for municipalities on the high cost of remediation.
And leaves the onus on the landowner, or keeps the responsibility with the landowner. You had a follow-up?
Yeah, those properties can all be sold. They just can't be mortgaged. I've bought one.
So
Actually, we bought two in the last 15 years.
from what I understand, Councillor, is that a municipality cannot sell them unremediated. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll have to plead ignorance on that. I imagine you can put it up for sale, but what you can realize on a contaminated property would be compromised.
Yeah. Okay.
Whether you would do that out of good conscience or not.
Councillor Screever and then Councillor Baumgarten.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one. I get it. The advantage for the municipality if it goes over to the municipality for back taxes. I understand that. This could be a very costly endeavor for the government of Alberta, and like I do agree that it can be sold. I think there is some stipulations with respect to ag land versus industrial land or commercial land with respect to land titles, and the environmentals on that. So yeah, I don't know enough about that. So but it can be very costly for the government of Alberta.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Baumgarten.
I can give some parallel anecdotal stuff from the oil and gas industry. Past owners of leases are all on the hook for potential liabilities. Typically, though, they are passed to the next buyer. So basically, the last guy holding the bag is the one that has to pay. And it goes back to due diligence. If those buyers bought that and didn't look into it deep enough and didn't see the contamination, well, that's too bad. So I see it a little bit differently than Greg in that it needs to be on the companies that did the contamination, not the municipality. So if the municipalities incur a bit of cost to implement some program like this, I think it's small potatoes compared to what you're going to save by making the polluters pay. So, yeah, just...
Okay, I think good words. Go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
We had one in Scandia. It was an old gas station. The person who bought it attempted to sell it as a property that had no problems with it, but anybody who was local knew it was contaminated. He couldn't sell it. He stopped paying taxes, I assume, because the county picked it up and cleaned it up, and the county sold it nowhere near the cost it took to clean it up. So, you know, I'm more on the side of let's see if we can get something out of the original owner as opposed to putting it on the government. I understand the idea, but I don't want people to think they can just dump their properties and the government will clean it up. That's the risk in this, I think.
Right, I think pretty similar to the concerns we've had about electrical or alternate energy installations and who's responsible for cleanup, basically, right? Councillor Johnson?
Yeah, I know of a couple of them where the cleanup is worth more than what the building is. That's why they sell for so cheap. So I think this municipality should stay right the heck away from this and put it right on the owners that if they want to clean it up. If not, just keep it.
Okay, so I think that's where the drift of this, I think we can vote on that. Let's move on. Municipal involvement in regulatory processes. This relates to the NRCB. Be it resolved that the rural municipalities of Alberta advocates for the government of Alberta to mandate the Natural Resources Conservation Board, Alberta Utilities Commission, and the Alberta Energy Regulator to incorporate into their application approval processes involvement of the municipality where the proposed operation will occur. Further be it resolved that the RMA advocates to the Government of Alberta to allow for municipalities to address, restrict, and/or create variances for confined feeding operations within their restrictive land use bylaws and municipal development plans. I think this is kind of interesting. Go ahead, Councillor Cobb.
I thought this was kind of already addressed at like probably 3 years ago or so. Am I wrong?
I think so, and I think the furthermore basically strips the NRCB of their purpose with regard to this, and I'm not sure that this needs to be addressed this way. Councillor Johnson.
Is this more red tape in a province that's trying to get rid of red tape?
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I suppose that depends on whether you see the process as adding value as the local municipality. And I think what we've heard, especially out of our friends at Willow Creek, is local municipalities have some intel which can sometimes be useful to folks who are trying to spin up a confined feeding operation who might need access to water and getting that water there. So I think there are some legitimate reasons to include municipalities in the approval processes, whether it's NRCB, AER, AUC. The last part, the further be it resolved, you'll have to kick that one around. I know the province, currently there's an engagement going on for renewables about standardizing setbacks. So the province would like more standardization to make it easier for developers to know what they're getting into so they don't have a million different flavors. But, you know, that's kind of the magic of municipal government and local democracy, is letting the local folks help guide and steer development in their community.
Okay, thank you for that. Go ahead, Councillor Cobb.
So it shows that last resolution, the one from 2023. And honestly, I don't really see what's different. Like, so why are we doing this again? Are they not already advocating for this, Kelly? Like, do you know?
I would assume so. They stay on our books for 5 years, so good question.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
My guess would be that the municipality that put this forward would like to have more say, more than a notification. That was kind of working in conjunction. It sounds here they want to have more ability to affect the conditions.
Yeah, I think the consultation and a role for the municipalities is important, but the trumping in terms of being able to restrict over and above the other regulatory bodies is maybe going a little too far. So, but we can probably take a look. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Chrisman.
I was just going to add that I read this as falling in line with the solar consultations. Like, read our plans, please, that we have in place. That's for confined feeding operations, okay? And that's what we asked through the solar and the wind process. So I think it was just falling in line with that, but we'll wait and see what comes out at the RMA, I guess.
Okay. Good. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, the other issue, I'm against this one, obviously, but private property rights too. Like, the less people involved in these decisions, the better it is. The landowner has some say in what happens to his land without 4 councils above all having to okay it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Screever.
I agree with Neil, but it is important that the municipality also has land use bylaws and that those are followed. So the landowner can do what he likes with his land as long as it fits within the land use bylaw. If it doesn't fit within the land use bylaw, it doesn't matter to, they'll take that into consideration, but this puts it on the application, our land use bylaw. So I'm kind of for this, but I mean, there's much debate.
Okay, we'll carry on in Edmonton, I'm sure. Let's move on to number 7, the removal of reference to the growth management boards from the Municipal Government Act. Does that affect us really? I don't think it does. So I think that's kind of a, go ahead, Councillor.
I agree with your comments. Having said that, we do need to vote. So what we've heard around the province, around City of Calgary and Edmonton, are specifically Calgary, that those boards are non-productive.
Irrelevant.
Yes, and irrelevant, but costing the municipalities a lot of money to attend these meetings. So just know that it's very localized and no different than talking about bear control or wild boar control. So you'll have to hear the language and vote on it.
Yeah, okay, I think, yeah, it's probably something we can support if we, unless, yeah. What do you want to do? It's 11:15. Mr. Stanley is here. Let's, we'll break from this and welcome you to the mic. Cole, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you very much, Reeve and councillors, for allowing me to present this to you. We've been extremely busy over the last month. Just the way things are working out, it's one of these years that we are experiencing an abnormally high amount of line breaks throughout the county in our infrastructure, yours as well, a little bit. So we've been extremely busy taking care of that stuff. So just as recently as yesterday, we were repairing our raw water line from the lake, stuff like that. So it's just the conditions of the freeze thaw cycles, stuff like that, that we're noticing a lot of these happening. And so I'll start it off with on the hamlet of Tilly on February 20th, we had a distribution leak right at the Center Street and 2nd Avenue four-way stop. There was a leak in the past there last year. This wasn't at the exact location, but just kind of beside it. So fairly familiar spot to the contractors, but it was dug up and repaired on the 21st. So everything's back to normal there. There was a valve that failed, so they had a smaller area isolated that only affected a few businesses, but it expanded more once that valve failed. It had to isolate out farther, so about 15 residents were affected, but not for too long, and all the bacteriological sampling came back negative and everything was fine. So it's all good the way it should be. There's also a repair made on the transmission main that we own that feeds the Rolling Hill pump house, and so close so that it was right against the foundation of the Rolling Hills building. So that was initially done on February 17th, dug down and fixed it. It was a previous repair from about 7 or 8 years ago. The repair coupler didn't fare so well, so that was redone. The only reason I mentioned it too, there was another leak 2 weeks later on the 24th, and or I guess less than 2 weeks, but that was coming up a little farther away, and we thought that it was possibly infrastructure that was not the same as that. So called the Brooks Asphalt out to our contractors that we use for leak repair. They dug up, and during that process, they hit the power line leading to the underground power to the pump house. So it lost power, and we had to use the backup generator for a couple days until we had an electrical contractor repair that. Jeff Tiffin and Fortis are in talks with each other as to the exact nature of why that happened, because it was given a clear, we were able to dig, we were given the go-ahead to dig and still hit that. So there's talks as to whether secondary locates should have been, because the meter's in the building, are they responsible up to the building because the meter's inside, or did we need another set of locates? So that's all being addressed right now, but long story short is the power line was repaired, everything's back into service, and the leak was repaired. And it happened to be the same one that was from the week prior, so Brooks Asphalt is gonna, it was a very expensive week for them because they hit the line and they had to fix a repair that they did the week before that. So long story short is everything's back to normal there in Rolling Hills.
Okay.
The Scandia distribution pump, if you recall, there's 2 pumps in that distribution pump house. One of them failed. We ordered a new pump. It took some time to get. Just the way the tolerances are, it's a submersible pump. Wasn't able to be pulled just as one normally would. We had to get divers to do that. So once we scheduled that all out, when we had the new pump, pulled it, was able to read the specific type of pump that was needed there. Even though we had the engineers at MP tell us what the right pump was, they were not compatible with each other, the new one and the one they were replacing. So different voltage, that kind of thing. So long story short is we had to order another pump, return the one that we had. We're gonna have to do this whole thing again once the new one is, but we currently don't have a timeline as to when the new one's gonna come. So they're still on just the one pump that we have, and hopefully everything will be fine until we get the new one installed. So
Okay, thank you.
that's the extent of my report, and if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy.
Go ahead. Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
So were there other leaks that you haven't reported on because they're fairly new, or just my question really is, are we seeing breaks more in one particular area, or they're just this is spring and here we go?
This is this particular spring and here we go, and I report everything that's your infrastructure. I don't if it's ours, and so I'm dealing with stuff that is our owned facilities, and yeah, I don't bore you with that kind of stuff. So
would you say that, go ahead, Councillor Baumgarten.
No, thanks. Appreciate that you're looking into the line locate issues. That obviously some severe consequences, and I'm actually shocked, to use a bad pun, about the power line. Like that's super basic. I don't know. It's baffling to me how that would have been missed by the locators. I'm not holding you to account for sure. That's somebody else's bailiwick to do that properly. So I'm hoping that you really lean on those guys to make sure they figure out what was missed there, because that to me is, I've done a lot of underground work in my previous life, and something like that is, I'm at a total loss as to how that got missed. And is there any recovery from MPE on that pump, from MPE for speccing the wrong pump? That seems like a pretty basic thing that an engineering firm should know, and if not, they should have some sort of way to make it right.
I would think so as well. We have as-built, so paper drawings of everything. It was indicated that would be the spec of the pump. We clarified with MPE, the project manager for that project, looked it up and assured us that was it. And usually with especially submersible pumps and sewage submersibles, or in this case a potable water one, when it's in a wet well that's not easily accessible, there's a tag that's on the pump itself, but they usually have one up in the MCC cabinet. For whatever reason, it wasn't there. We couldn't find any information on it. That's usually the go-to. We noticed that the new one did have a sticker that you can put in your electrical cabinet and have it above ground for operations staff to see and know instantly what they're dealing with. But here again, it didn't happen to exist, and that's why we sought clarification from the engineering firm that designed and built that facility and, yeah, supervised the construction of it, but for whatever reason it didn't happen the way we wanted it to. But recourse, I can inquire, but I don't know. Like, I'm assuming it's just going to cost us time, a little bit of money for divers. Well, not just a little bit, but it's a significant amount to get divers down from Edmonton and stuff like that. But I'll definitely inquire about it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, thanks for your report this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Cole. We are a little early, but we could probably go to, Mr. Harbrink, welcome.
Not wasting no time. Good morning,
that's
Reeve
good.
and council members. Monthly report for February from Municipal Services. You can see what we focused on municipal enforcement-wise. Slower month because both officers were attending conference, of course receiving recertification and training to stay current over that period of time. So 19 warnings, 23 tickets, and 19 investigations. Partner hourly commitments, Town of Bazzano, Villages of Rosemary, Dutchess, and EID were fulfilled, and things are going well there. Fleet services, not much to report on that. We continue working through bringing our fire apparatus into the shop rather than having a third party do that work. So adjusting to that, and the team seems to be doing well with it. Additionally, grader operators, snow and ice control. Here we are today, we got snow and ice again. We've just been in this wicked little system of 20-degree weather, and then we get snowstorms. So contending with that as it can be. Otherwise, they're out doing brushing and tree cutting out in the Patricia area. Truck drivers, stockpiling gravel or tending to snow and ice on roads as required. And I'll just mention today that motorists continue to make poor decisions. Right out here in front of the office, we had the plow truck with a school bus following immediately behind, and somebody in a hurry decided to pass both of them at the same time. So this is what our operators contend with on a daily basis as a hazards and risks. And of course, the road conditions were not the greatest at 7:30 this morning, but people just do not slow down. So be mindful yourselves of road conditions, and everybody stays safe, including our operators getting home safely too. Maintenance operators, variety of assignments, several signs being taken care of, just, they're old age posts, or there's vandalism to some of them from time to time, nothing too significant that we've had to report to the RCMP to kind of get a handle on, or our own officers. So doing what we're doing. Admittedly, if you saw the social media post, we did get equipment stuck on the pathway down by Kinbrook Island. 1.5 meters of snow drifted in across that 700-meter section of pathway. We did have to close it. This is what I reminded you of moving into our first winter season of dealing with pathways in remote areas. We don't know exactly what we're going to encounter, and weather doesn't always tell us what it's bringing. We got stuck, took us a few days to get that part of the pathway cleared out, but it's just a reminder that we'll be gauging whether we're going to continue to maintain or whether we're going to come back to council and ask for your blessing that we're no longer doing winter maintenance on the path. Just one of those things. As long as we can keep it cost effective and keep it open and available to users, great. Weather's going to really dictate what level of service we can maintain for our ratepayers. So in addition to that, highlighting several things with work on bridges and stuff for yourselves. You've been involved in the tender awards. These are the updates for where progress is at, several of them complete. Request for proposal on engineering services, that recommendation's coming to you here. We've got initial planning underway with the county servicing standards, so that's going to get us current again. Range Road 15-0, grade widening and overlay work. Jeff is working with landowners on acquisition before we can really do anything there, and coordinating utilities. The Gem Ballast Pit Access Road is also starting to fall into progress, and landowner engagement is taken. We'll see where that shakes out, what option we can put in place. JBS Access Road, some vegetation has been cleared out on the speed curve, greatly improving sight lines, and other work will commence as well as weather permits. And you've been involved in all the rest. I'll also just like to highlight to council that dust abatement applications will be sent out to previous ratepayers that have applied. Remind you that when we awarded the dust abatement product tender, that there's a significant increase in the cost of the program this year. So if any of you get phone calls from your ratepayers that are a little flustered with why the increase, if I remember right, through the CAO, we are giving them some of the increase, not all of the increase at once, and they have benefited for the last 3 to 6 years of lower prices than where things should have been at. So this is a price correction from the new contractor, and when we looked at that at tender award, we would have been on that schedule had there been a cost of inflation to it to begin with. So we're where we need to be. It's just a bit of a hit and might be a sticker shock to some people this year when they fill out their application. So just a heads up for you.
Okay, thank you. JBS Access Road, do we have any long-term estimate on, I realize we're at the front end of the project, the work on the project, but do we have an anticipated completion date for that at all?
End of October, hopefully sooner.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Kopp, please.
Just curious if you would even consider putting up some snow fence or on the pathway to help with the snow, or is it just too big a space?
The challenge with snow fence is the best location to put snow fence is 100 meters away from the location that you're trying to preserve. So that takes us into private land or even the water body in this case. And really, you know, the challenge with the causeway from Kinbrook Island north is probably one of the nicest places to walk if you enjoy the trees and the birds. That's where the birders are. Really don't want to clear all those trees out of there. That's one of the more enjoyable or different aspects of the pathway for people to enjoy. So if that's where you're thinking, due to the situation we ran into, that would be a challenge because we'd be 100 meters out in the lake. So.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Screever, and then Councillor.
Yeah, and on that topic, it may be a conversation we have with the province, because that being part of the province's area, maybe there's some, I don't know, working with funding or help out with that particular aspect. So.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Chrisman.
Through the chair, I just wanted to acknowledge and share with you a situation that our neighbors to the west are going through at the County of Wheatland. We have been the recipients of a great new business in the County of Newell, and it's up and operational. And residents are seeing an increase in traffic on Highway 561. But I wanted to share that the Wheatland County put out, I thought, a great letter to residents, and but just a heads up to your department to increase or to have communications with Wheatland, and also to have enforcement keep it on their radar, just to keep everybody safe.
Okay, thank you.
I can respond to that enforcement is aware of the traffics of generated out of the project underway right now with the construction, and they'll be out and about making sure there's compliance and stuff. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other, Councillor Johnson, please.
Good morning. Is it really a difficulty just closing the path, like putting up barricades when there's storms and taking them down? I mean, is that not an easy option, or is there a reason you don't want to do that?
Not difficult at all, just really trying to test the waters with the crew with new infrastructure to see what level of service we can provide for our ratepayers. When we did put the social media post out there, we had a couple of people respond, some saying, well, why is it closed? And one person responded back, well, probably because of the snow and the wind. But people don't always understand that. The one thing that I deferred to is before County Council, City of Brooks, and EID partnered on this project, there was a pathway out there. What happened then? Nothing. If it drifted, it drifted. You either walked it or you didn't walk it. Because we've paved it, We've now increased the level of expectation perhaps. We're trying to do our best. We're finding our way with it. And as I said, I'll report back to council with what we believe we can or cannot do. The shame is you're going to be 700 meters from the end, depending which end you started at. You could be at 0. But no, it's not difficult for us to put closures in place with barricades saying it's closed and or the social media posts as well. So.
Okay, thank you. I think that'll be an ongoing conversation, I'm sure. So, any other questions? We're good? Thank you. Just a motion then to accept the municipal services report. Councillor Johnson. Thank you. All in favor, please indicate. That is carried. Thank you. Let's move on to our assessor. And I'm just going to add, oh, yeah, let's come on up, Roxanne. Well, we're still quite a few people in the room. Council had, I think, a very good strategic planning session the last couple of days, also attended by our directors, and I think the overarching discussion was and sentiment was appreciation for the good work of our staff and the crew that we have the privilege of working here with at the county. So I see quite a few people in the room. I just wanted to express that to all of you and pass that on as it's appropriate. The good work that you do is very much appreciated, and we're proud of the opportunity to work together with you. So thank you for that. And with that, let's move on to item number, where are we? 10.3. Right, engineering services, the paved roads. Go ahead, Roxanne.
Good morning, Reeve councillors. Administration issued an RFP on January 20th to obtain engineering services under a standing offer agreement for the county's paved road program for the years of 2026 to 2028 with an option to extend. This also includes a life cycle review of all the paved roads in 2026. In total, we received 5 submissions, and all of them were evaluated based on predetermined criteria that was outlined in the RFP. Administration recommends entering into a standing offer agreement with ISL Engineering Services for the term ending on December 31st, 2028, with an option to extend. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions? Councillor Johnson?
Because there is no money attached to this, I don't quite understand, I guess, why it is coming to us. There's no money attached, because generally that is the reason it's before us. So I'd like some clarification.
Matt, go ahead.
So the reason you don't see a specific dollar amount in the RFD is because that specific dollar amount is going to be generated by the amount of work that we put these guys through. Council will maybe recall within the 2026 budget, and Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think the pavement assessment piece of the work was around 200,000. And then on top of that, individual paving projects, engineering is always around that 10% of the overall project cost. So we did not go through and estimate the 10% of all of the paved projects that will be coming, but the dollar amount will be significant on engineered services for paved roads. There is a benefit to locking down a single provider that we build relationships with, trust, and they've got the body of work for the county over the next near term.
Among other things as well, actually. Right. Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Johnson.
So this is going to include the new paving we're doing as well? Engineering, all that, or just the ones current? All of them? Okay.
Okay. Councillor Neil Johnson.
I would like to make that motion, please.
Okay, as per the recommendation, any other questions? All in favor, please indicate. That is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roxanne and Jeff, thanks. Now, let's go to, let's take a 5-minute break. Does that work, everyone? Start at convene our meeting. Welcome Kevin Halstead this morning to give us an overview of our assessment. Appreciate you coming in today. Yeah, everybody in order? Good, thanks. Welcome.
All right, thank you, Reeve Dirksen and council and staff. I've been asked to speak on 3 items today. First one is assessment update. The second is education kind of session. And the last one's about the value of, or the impact of solar farms on residential values. So I guess just first of all, the assessment update. In 2024 assessment, which is our 2025 tax year, we had $4.9 billion worth of property. That included exempt properties. The 2025 assessment, so for this year's 2026 tax year, we're at $5.1 billion. So I took out the taxable portion. In 2024, the taxable portion was $4.6 billion. And for 2025, which will be our 2026 tax year, we're $4.8 billion. Roughly, that's $227 million increase in taxes over last year. Part of that is the linear designated industrial property, which is actually, for our terms, a linear dip, makes it easier. The linear portion was up 36 million over last year, and the non-linear dip, which is your oil and gas buildings and structures and machine equipment, is up 41 million over last year. Just a few little more details on that. Our impacts are mostly from the oil and gas sector. The oil and gas sector makes up normally every year between that 60 and 70% of our tax base. This year works out to about 62%. Farmland was up $1 million. Machinery equipment is up 21 million. That includes part of the JBS expansion. And also the non-residential increase, a lot of that again was the JBS expansion. The railway is 1.6 million increase. My biggest surprise, I mean, it might not be a surprise to most of you, but we had a $110 million increase in residential values. So I was a little bit shocked as to the value, but not surprisingly based on cost and what's going on in the market. Education session number 2 here. My understanding was just kind of to give you an overview of what an assessor does. So locally here, my job is to look after farmland, farm residences, acreages, commercial industrial properties, non-farmland, and then some machinery equipment, which the government doesn't look after, but they've assigned us to look after. The province assesses the linear dip, as I mentioned, which is your wells, pipelines, electric power systems, which is your towers and your wires, and also the solar farms. They also look after telecommunication carriers and cable. A few years back, they took over the assessment of railway, and they also look after the non-linear dip, which is your oil and gas structures and machine equipment associated with that. So just to kind of focus on farm assessments, I do get a lot of those, which is understandable, because there's an exemption that comes into play, and it's under the Rural Assessment rural assessment policy, which we as assessors call the RAP policy. So it's based on the amount of farmland that a farm operator owns. Now, it is a regulated farmland rate that the province has not changed for probably 50 years that it's been around. So it's not market value. So if you're selling your land for $12,000 an acre, you won't see that on the assessment. The maximum assessment under the regulated value is $450. But because we're in southern Alberta, we start at about $350. So, and that's per acre. The exemption, there's a maximum exemption for your first farm residence, which is $61,000, and then about $30,000 for a second residence. So I'll just give you an example. Say a farm operator owns one house, and that house is $400,000. His regulated farmland value comes in at $100,000. So the $100,000 farmland regulated value is higher than the maximum exemption of $61,000. So that $61,000 is applied to the house, and so your house would drop down to a value of $339,000, and that's the portion that you'd be taxed on, not the $400,000. So even if you had $1 million worth of regulated farmland, you still would only receive that $61,000 for the first residence. So farm buildings, so all of your outbuildings on a farm are exempt from the tax portion, not necessarily the assessed portion. And if you are strictly using an outbuilding, barn, or a warehouse for farm purposes, then you are 100% exempt. The only time there's a change is if you are deciding to use part of that shop or the whole shop for a commercial operation such as welding or mechanical. If you're only using a portion of that shop for the welding or mechanical, then we would just prorate a portion of that shop to taxes, and then the other portion would be exempt. So again, farmland value is not based on market value. Just to switch to the inspection cycle that we have. So annually, we are required to inspect about 20% of all the properties in the county. We've tried to split it by divisions and full townships, so there is a little bit of overlap. How we've done that is we've looked at all the parcels within the townships and tried to split them up fairly evenly. So in a 5-year period, we basically would have visited your property at least once, and the actual farmland we would have driven by at least once in the 5-year process also. The only difference is if there's a permit taken out, we do take care of that permit and check that property within the year of that permit being taken out. I'm not sure, Mr. Dirksen, if there was, you want to do questions after or during, I'll just carry on if you want.
Let's maybe carry on, and then we'll have questions at the end, if you're good with that.
At the end? Okay,
sure.
Yeah. So the third thing is the impact from solar farms on residential values. The Alberta Utilities Commission had a hearing locally here on the Antelope Creek Road proposal for a solar farm. And I just wanted to go over their findings. The hearing involved 2 appraisers, not assessors, but appraisers. And one appraiser said that there actually is no impact on residential values if you're close to a solar farm. The other appraiser said that there's a -2 to -5%. So the one appraiser who said that there was no impact found some data from somewhere in Alberta, and it wasn't stated, but his findings still came up with a 0% impact. The other appraiser said, well, I didn't find any information, but I would say reasonable would be -2 to -5%. So the AUC said that that both the appraisers really are fairly similar, anywhere from 0 to -5. So it's not a big, huge difference on both sides. So the AUC did say that, like, the explanation that one appraiser said, well, the other appraiser used data that was too old. Normally appraisals are good from 30 to 180 days, of course, depending on the market. In a hot market, it could be good as 2 weeks because that's how fast values change. So if you're using this data that was found was upwards of 5 years old already, and so that's why the one appraiser said, well, in his opinion, you couldn't really use it, but okay, we'll use it. But it still showed that 0 to -5%. So both sides said that really there's no impact on vacant and agriculture land. So I guess in their reports that they found, there was the report stating that so agriculture or farmland is not affected by it. But they did say that there is a fairly large visual impact on residential properties, which they termed as viewscapes. That's a new word for me, so I don't know if you've heard that word before, but anyway, the AUC accepted that there would be unlikely again affect agricultural land, but there is some potential for residential land. So the second final thing that they said was that there's sufficient evidence to establish that there is a negative public perception of the project's effects on viewscape. And this may translate into, the keyword is may, so it may translate into a negative effect on property value for some properties. And again, they said anywhere from 0% to the -5%. So the question came from one side of the appellants, and they asked if the commission would consider mitigation strategies to reduce the impacts on property values for residences within 1 kilometer of a project. So basically what this is they, at this hearing, they said, well, I'll call it the buffer zone between a solar farm and a residential home, they felt was too small. So they wanted it to be basically 1 kilometer away. The AUC Commission's answer was that it was not required to have this big wide buffer zone, that the buffer zone provided by the solar farm company was sufficient. I don't have those statistics as to how wide or anything like that. So again, the Commission said that this buffer zone of 1 kilometer is not needed, and only because of we have a 0 to -5% reduction.
Yeah.
So I do have one example, just quickly. Our solar farm that first came to the county, the one across the highway, the Brook Solar Project, there is a residence there that's pretty well surrounded on 3 sides of the solar farm. So what I did is I felt for fairness that I would give the maximum that the AUC recommended, which is -5%. So I did that on that property. I now see that newer solar farm projects that are being built closer to residences, that the buffer zone seems to be a little wider now. So again, if it's going wider, then really what is the effect on that on those properties.
Right.
So, thank you, Mr. Dirksen.
Thank you for that report. Lots of information there. I suppose, are there questions from anyone? Councillor Johnson.
Question about solar. If I have a shop and I put up $40,000 worth of solar panels, how much does that raise my taxes by?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So I've got a shop.
As long as, yeah. So now you get your power from the power company. Now you have solar. As long as that solar is strictly used for farm, there is no change in your assessment. But if that solar was used for a welding shop in your warehouse, then some of that could be an increase to your assessment base. No, yeah, $40,000, and say I use 10% of the solar panels. Yeah, it wouldn't be that much, but we would have to recognize that solar panel is being used for not strictly farm, but some commercial operation. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to take one more question. Then what I'm going to suggest, like you've brought us a lot of good information that I expect to many of us is not front of mind. I mean, it's a significant part of what we do and our impact on ratepayers. So I think I'd like us, or personally at least, get more familiar with what you're talking about. So I'm going to suggest that we schedule a committee of the whole meeting for you to come in and we spend some designated time and dialogue around some of this, because I think it's informative and educational for us and of value for sure. So one more question and then we'll wrap for today, if you're good with that.
Hello, I've been asked by ratepayers how they know if you have been to assess their place. Like I know at our place, I've seen you there and I've shown you the inside of the house, not a problem, but do you leave a calling card? Do people know if you've been there or not?
Yes, I do have calling cards, of course, business cards. We live in a wonderful windy country, and even though they fit nicely over the doorknob, sometimes things get blown away. And we do advertise that we're going to be in this area this year. Yeah, I think it's on the website, in the bulletin, and what's the other one? Whatever, yeah, social. So we do advertise that we're going to be in certain areas, but just the fact that we're not restricted to that area, but we could be going to other areas also. So, but yeah, I do put a card on, and sometimes they blow away before I even get to the truck. So.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
With that, thank you for coming in this morning, and we'll plan to continue the conversation. It's valuable and useful to us, so thanks again.
Sure. Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going. Okay, we now have a meeting with representatives from the Tilly Recreation Board, and we're going to go in camera for that if we have a motion to move in camera. Councillor Kopp, all in favor, please. I think mostly what we have is, if the resolutions, we'll just go through them quickly, and then if we need more in-camera time, we can take it, but if not, we won't. Excuse me.
Looks like a good day to get on the road.
Yeah, be a good day to get home early. Looks. Okay, I think we were up to resolution 8, weren't we, or was it 7? Which is equitable electricity distribution pricing model. Be it resolved that RMA advocate to the government of Alberta to adopt a new electricity pricing model for distribution that eliminates the disparity in pricing across Alberta. Dan, Councillor Baumgart.
They just this gave me flashbacks. I was talking to Kelly about this. So you got to be careful here that they equilibrate on a higher price, like kind of like insurance costs when guys thought they were paying too much and girls got a break and said, okay, well the girls can pay more. We'll make it fair. It might happen here too. Just be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Anything else on this? We'll have a chance to revisit it in Edmonton, right? So we'll go on, carry on. Number 9 is access to liability insurance for agritourism operators. Be it resolved that RMA, excuse me, request the Government of Alberta to review Ontario's Growing Agritourism Act and assess its relevance to addressing challenges faced by Alberta's agritourism sector in accessing adequate liability insurance. Further, that RMA support the Government of Alberta in developing an action plan to address barriers in accessing adequate liability insurance for agritourism. I guess we should maybe ask the. Are they having problems now? Well, I'm not sure about that. Anybody have any comments?
Oh,
Great. Go ahead.
I don't know that there is an issue with finding liability coverage. I think it's all based on a risk. What are you doing for the agritourism? What kind of risk is to the public? Are you running a riding arena where you're teaching kids how to ride a horse? That's a major concern. But you can buy coverage. It's just that these agritourism people don't want to pay the higher premium for the risk. So it all depends on what the risk is. Is it just someone coming out and you've got a Saskatoon patch that you're having people come out? Very little risk. But if it's riding bulls or something, there's a major risk. So you can buy coverage. They just don't want to.
It looks like they want the government to pay for it, and I don't.
Yeah, they want the government to have a program for them because they feel special, I guess. I don't know.
Go ahead, Kelly.
And more specifically, for RMA to look at insuring, you see, because we're in the business, right? So it does have effects on RMA.
Yeah, except you can't. I'm sure you can get the insurance through RMA. It's just the cost, right? And they want the cost to be taken away, right? Yeah. So we're good. Aviation planning for the strategic planning for the aviation sector in Alberta. Be it resolved that RMA advocates to the Government of Alberta to invest in the development of a comprehensive evidence-based provincial aviation, aerospace, and defense strategy. that explicitly includes municipal and community airports, aerodromes, and their representation, and aligns aviation, aerospace, and defense priorities and supports economic development, agriculture, emergency services, workforce training, innovation, and regional connectivity, and includes, a commitment by the GOA to implement the recommendation arising from the strategy. It's a mouthful. Any thoughts? Is it an issue for us out here? Greg?
I mean, it's obvious that they have more smaller plane issues in Mountain View. We don't have this issue here. Like they're saying feed traffic into larger regional airports. They want a strategy to reduce the number of airplanes that are flying. You're talking an industry that's highly regulated and highly regulated as far as the government goes. So I don't know what they're really wanting to be special about here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. I think more discussion probably as we get there. Number 11, advocacy. Be it resolved that RMA develop an advocacy prioritization framework for resolution and associated advocacy efforts to ensure that advocacy items with broad support and province-wide implications are focused on before localized resolutions or resolutions with lower support. Pretty hard to argue with that if there isn't that kind of prioritization now. Is it not that way? Go ahead.
I can't speak for the past, but you've been there for the last 5 years, and we've seen all kinds of spotty. So, by passing this resolution, it would give the committee some framework to work to keep it localized. So it may even speak to the things that are just city and not rural.
Well, and it keeps from getting things on the high on the agenda that are just local.
Right.
This is basically to make sure we're dealing with broad brush issues generally, unless, as a priority. I think that makes sense, actually, doesn't it? I mean, if we're not doing, I mean, it's pushing us towards a more focused approach to advocacy anyway, I would say. Yeah, I think I would agree. Okay. 12 is a reversal of a decision to close Lacombe Research and Development Center. Are we sure we're comfortable with that? I'm going to try to make a phone call or two before, and I just ran out of time. I read this earlier in the week, and just I wonder about some context on that. I think it's a done deal, and that doesn't mean you don't, like, there needs to be a transition to something else maybe. Holly and then Dan.
So what, because it's one of 7 that got closed, so is there any direction we keeping one open or some open, like with people doing this kinds of process? Do we know, or you think it really is, there's no going back?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll try to make a phone call and see, but not that that's a definite, it won't be definitive, because if there's the right lobbying effort, I guess maybe they'd keep it open, but I think the likelihood is minimal, probably. Go ahead.
Yeah, kind of a follow-up or add-on to what Holly just said is the decision to make this, what have they provided in terms of direction as to how this work's going to be done? Do they consider the work that these things we're doing not important? Or do they think they can be accomplished in other means? And if so, how? So I'd like to get more clarity as to, obviously it's a cost-cutting thing, but the work was important and what's going to replace that.
Thank you.
How does this affect the CDC? And with them closing, does it give us, provide more demand for CDC? Is there some group that is currently out there at Lacombe that maybe we can move to our facility here? I don't know. Or do we work in conjunction, or how does it affect us?
Well, I guess that's not impossible that there might be work push our way if it's lost there. And because they did definitely have some crop research, but there was also a meat animal lab and also a processing facility there that was, I think, maybe aged already, but it's a little different than what we're doing, or quite a bit different than what we're doing, yeah.
One side of the road was the animals, the other side of the road was the crop stuff, right?
Yeah. I think we can listen and learn as we get there too. Controlling grizzly bears to ensure community safety. This one, do I need to read this or have you read it? You've read it? Yeah. I mean, this is about controlling, it is, but it's probably a real issue. The grizzly bear hunt has been off the books for quite a few years, and here we are, right? Like, they need to start managing it. Sorry? Okay. I would support this. Go ahead, Councillor Chris.
So this is an example of a localized situation, right? But the committee doesn't have the framework in place to say that. So of course it's getting through, and a lot of us are struggling with, is that a good thing or a bad thing? So, and I'm just using this as an example, but so that just points to that other resolution that we spoke about.
I think it does, but I think this one is somewhat broad because it would go all the way up the up the mountain, like the foothills. I think they're pushing out into the farmland more and more, and so I think too, for context, that earlier, if that resolution passes, that doesn't take a bunch of stuff off the table. It just kind of helps or urges the board to prioritize, which the big issues are, and I think that's significant for effective advocacy too. Actually, that's probably a good idea. So that's the last one, I think, right? What else do we? Anything? Anyone else has to talk about the? Oh.
Well, I have something I'd like to talk about in camera.
In camera, you'd like to. So, do we have anything else? Or are we ready to move in camera?
Request for functions of council.
Oh, request for functions of council. That's right. Sorry, Matt. Thank you. And you've got one that came to us.
Yeah, through the chair. Remind council a few weeks back, received an invitation to attend the Play On Street Hockey Tournament in Tabor at 3:15 on Friday, March 27th. If council wants to send a representative down there in a Brooks Bandits uniform, you would be up against Town of Tabor Council playing in their Tabor Oil Kings jerseys. But this is kind of a recognition of some of the ice time that they received down in Rolling Hills. I think they even came up to Tilly, those Tabor kids. So the invite is out. We would need to respond to Amy Allred, their economic development manager, by tomorrow. So looking for a decision one way or the other on this one.
Okay, who wants to go out and get hammered or get nailed?
March 24th?
27th, which is a Friday at 3:15 p.m.
I think it'd be good for, I mean, if a couple of people want to go, I think it's good to build bridge. I mean, and I'm just thinking back to it wasn't a county thing, although it was, that PEP fundraiser, we had a lot of good support from Tabor, and it was noticeable, and it would be good if we could have a couple of people go. Okay.
I wasn't going to be in Hawaii, I'd go.
Go, yeah. Who could go?
Blaine said I'd get hurt the way I'm so clumsy.
You'll be fine. Probably can take your kids along if you want to too. I mean, this is a social event, right?
I think that's political.
Yeah. Oh, it's. Okay, Lynette, you can't? Anybody else? Okay. Okay, look, somebody make a motion that 2 people go if Councillor Chrisman.
I'll make a motion that up to 3 people go and that we purchase Bandit jerseys for them.
Okay. Thank you.
For them. Oh, I want one. Dang!
Ellie, you gonna go play?
Yeah.
I have a Zoom call, a meeting.
You can
Do it on the road. Yeah. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Any other business? I think we're good, eh? A motion to move in camera. Craig, thank you. Councillor Screever, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you.